Hi, welcome to this session in which we're going to talk about the 12 principles of Agile. First of all, let's do a recap of the four core values that we discussed about in our last session. If you missed that, just look at the description of this video and you would see a link to learn about the four core values of Agile. These four core values we talked about were individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, response to change over following a plan. That summarizes the four core values of Agile. Now, let's dive deep into the 12 principles of Agile. Agile principle number one says satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. So, in the Agile methodology, rather than focusing on building the complete product, the team focuses on building the product in increments and gives a working software to the customer or the product owner, which the customer can test and come back with feedback. And that helps to make sure that a proper product is built in the end. This also gives the ability to add new features without redefining the entire scope of the project. Let's go to Agile Principle number two. Agile Principle number two says embrace changes in requirements even at the late stage of the development. Teams generally react to issues and change the product in order to satisfy the customer needs. Strategies and processes may be reconsidered to safeguard the product's quality. So, for example, imagine that we were midway through developing a new product, and then suddenly the competitor release a feature in their product that would make our product obsolete. It just makes sense that it be it a team member or the product owner could see this feature and bring suggestion to the table. That's why we talk about encouraging weekly, daily meetings that and we would all decide that we have to do something in order to reciprocate that new development from the competitor. So, therefore, every agile team must learn to embrace changes in requirements, and these changes are all across the board, even at the late stages of the development. Now, let's go to agile principle number three. Agile principle number three states deliver working software frequently with preference of shorter intervals. So when achieving a bigger goal, it makes sense to just achieve this goal in small increments. Agile favors this kind of strategy because teams therefore have tighter structures and more concrete goals to work on rather than having a very broad goal spectrum, which could be confusing at times. A team could decide to release one or two features, get those features tested, approved before coming to release the next feature. But it will always be working software. Now let's go to principle number four. Principle number four says collaborate closely with the customer and stakeholders throughout the project. We talked about this at the beginning of the course when we said that prioritizing collaboration and communication to share information and resources across the board was critical for in every agile methodology. So what that means is that by aligning, I'll give you an example, by aligning the product development, the sales, the marketing team, and every other functional requirement that we have as part of the structure of the team, the products can definitely avoid potentially unseen market challenges and ensure a good product market fit. Now, let's jump straight to Agile Principle number five. Agile Principle number five says build projects around motivated individuals and give them the environment and support they need. For every successful team, it is very critical to appoint the right people with the right set of skills and most importantly, the right mindset, which highlights the attribute of motivated individuals. It also reminds us that we must give the team members the support that they need, and that is not just across giving them the tools to work, but it's also about having a healthy and non toxic environment where people can function. It therefore means that people must be trusted to be able to do their jobs properly without disruptive micromanagement. So the project owner or the team leader should have complete faith, absolute faith in the team that they have built, and give them the ability to work independently and also the ability to experiment with new ideas without derailing from the overall project. Now let's jump to principle number 6. Principle number 6 says use face to face communications as much as possible. The emphasis on the importance of collaboration is something we've talked about. Meetings, collaboration, which brings idea sharing, and these should be daily meetings, which constitute sprint planning, demos, documentation, and more. If a team is working exclusively via email, what happens? The nature of an email may be missed, and something that is communicated may not be taken on board the way it needs to be taken on board. So, face to face communication, as much as possible, is a key principle that must be applied in every functional agile team. Now, let's go to principle number 7. Agile principle number 7, what does it say? It says measure progress through working software and respond to changes in priorities. We talked about in at the beginning of the conversation, we talked about producing the software in increments, getting these increments tested, which means delivering valuable software. Now, we would examine how much we are progressing towards the end of the project through the working software, the iterations that we are providing to the project owner, instead of trying to come out with a complete product that should go to the market having all the features. That's not what that's not what is recommended. We did talk about the minimum viable product, or if you would like, minimum viable features, which are features that we would develop, which are features that we would put out for the product owner or the customers to use and then review. And when we have changes, we are called upon to respond to changes in priorities, which means that when we have a series of changes that need to be done, we have to prioritize these changes according to how the importance that they have on the overall performance of the product at that moment in time. When we talk about performance, imagine it was a software that is already in the market and you needed to add three key features. We should be able to go on the table and decide which feature is more important, which one is a priority, and make sure that that one is developed and integrated as quickly as possible. Now let's look at Agile principle number 8. Agile principle number 8, what does it say? It says maintain a sustainable pace of work for both the developers and the customers. It is vital for product teams to have realistic goals. Key word here is realistic goals. To have realistic goals and manageable expectations during the sprint. We are not there yet, but we will talk about the sprint very quickly. But this generally the realistic goals and expectations of the set of tasks that we decide to do within a certain period of time will help the morale and prevent the staff from being burned out. This is important. Now let's go to Agile principle number 9. Agile principle number 9, what does it say? It says focus on technical excellence and good design to enhance agility. What does that mean? Every time there is a release, we talked about incremental releases of working or functional software. Every time there is a release, the product should be reviewed to ensure that there is real improvement that has taken place as a result of that release. So if we added a new increment, we added a new if we did an iteration and we added a new feature, we must be sure that that feature has brought significant or has brought acceptable value addition into the overall product. Now, with that, let's go to Agile Principle number 10. Agile Principle number 10 says, keep things simple and make essential work visible. Agile is really about keeping processes simple and streamlining the entire cycle. And the Agile Principles helps keep that on track. Even the most minor distractions and unnecessary tasks can slow the process of the work. So we must embrace automation tools wherever possible. For example, a that product teams that automate repetitive manuals tax-free will take up more time to achieve their objectives. So understand this very clearly, that we must keep things simple and make essential work visible. Now let's go to the last but one, which is Agile Principle number 12. Agile Principle number 12 says, number 11, sorry, it says self-organizing teams for the best results. Self-organizing, which means teams must be autonomous in order to have the capability of acting faster without having to secure permission for every little task. For example, teams that have autonomy will make critical changes without first going through multiple stakeholders, and that would save a lot of time and deliver a more viable product. In the waterfall methodology, for example, the interface between the product owner or the interface between the customer and the developer, who could be the business analyst, who at times sits in one position as business analyst, as project manager, etc., would be in charge of communicating with the owner, carrying this information back to the developer, back and forth, or communicating with with the product technical director, for example, and then the technical director has to go to the company administration in order to get authorization for something to happen. Valuable time is wasted in that process. Agile really debunks this by being that disruptive in having all the teams just working together like one big family and makes things happen so much faster. Now we're going to go to Agile Principle number 12, which is the last one. Agile Principle number 12 states, reflect continuously on the project and the process and adjust accordingly. What does this mean? It means that teams are encouraged, every member of the team is encouraged to reflect on their progress and make changes to the product rather than moving ahead blindly. If we notice in the course of the development that some feature that we have will be obsolete even before it is developed, we have to pause, take an inventory of it, realize that we don't need it, and kick it out, for example. So, a team that uses retrospectives, and we will talk about that, can leverage these learnings mid development to make trajectory changes and involve and improve product development. With that, we are done with the principles of Agile.